Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to Signed and Sealed. Yes, it's another one.
You're joking. Not another one?
No, we're not joking because Town have made another signing 2 in 2 days for Bojan Radulovic. The striker has joined on a permanent deal until the summer of 2027. Now, it's no secret that Town needed a striker. They needed one the last window. You know it, I know it, the club knows it, Neil Warnock knew it, Darren Moore knows it. Well, we can stop moaning for now because they've got one. And from the club statement, it seems that Darren Moore's impressed. He was quoted as saying, "A forward of Bojan's profile is someone we've really wanted to introduce to the squad. So I'm absolutely delighted that he signed a long-term contract with the club. We are blessed with real attacking talent and flair in wide areas in midfield, but through injury and unavailability have lacked a forward who can help tie that all together, finish chances in the box with regularity and create space and opportunities for others to exploit, which his size, skill and ability will now allow us." I know what you're thinking. Is he any good? Well, the honest answer is we don't know. But someone who might know is Finnish football expert Eetu Ikola, who we spoke to earlier for this podcast, and he was very kind to share his thoughts on Town's new striker. And here's what he had to say.
What type of a player are Huddersfield Town getting in Bojan Radulovic, and what do you make of the move? Firstly, this is a great move for Bojan. I mean, he's shown in the past year he's capable of taking a step to a bigger league, and this move is probably even a little bit better than many would have expected. But I would back him to succeed at Huddersfield. He's a great goal scorer, improved his overall game a lot. So as long as he gets the service he needs, he can hit the ground running in England, where he couldn't quite make it before at a younger age when working through the academy ranks in Brighton. How would you describe his playing style, and what would you say his strengths and weaknesses are? I think Bojan found his best form in the role of a target man last season. He's a very intelligent player. He makes the right moves inside the box and is great at finishing with both, especially his head and his right foot. His left foot still might need some work, but when he came to HJK, he was captured from the bench of the Swedish side, Ike, and he had some improving to do with his focus and attitude, maybe a bit with his physicality. But last year, you could really see he had put in the hard work to get better in all those areas, and I think now he's capable of playing as a target man. He's taking the team on his shoulders and scoring decisive goals. He even received the nickname Saviour inside the locker room, helping the team to another championship. I think what he really needs to work on is getting those shots away fast. He still lacks a bit of quickness and strength in some battles inside the area, and you shouldn't expect him to create goals out of nowhere by himself, like on his own. But as I said, with the right kind of deliveries and the right kind of system, he'll definitely get you the goals you need. And I think Huddersfield especially, they've struggled with like a bit more of a slow attacks, and that's what he's used to at HJK, I think. So he'll definitely be the right player to sort of tie everything together and get you the goals that you need. The question about the quality of Veikkausliiga and what level would it rank in comparison to the Championship? Well, you obviously can't put these two leagues onto the same level, really. Like, Veikkausliiga is much slower and less physical than the Championship, but previous individuals, especially centre forwards, have shown they're capable of thriving in the British game after making it in HJK. If you look into the recent history of where HJK's best goalers have gone on to play in, there's obviously like Teemu Pukki, he joined Celtic, eventually went on to do great things in Norwich. Then there's Alfredo Morelos, he was great at Rangers where he was sold to, and so maybe when comparing the levels between the Scottish Premiership and the Championship, this one is quite close to the same standards. And both of those players, they did well in the UK, one quicker than the other, and I think Radulovic will be fine as well. It's obviously not easy to make an instant impact as a January signing for any club, especially when coming from a whole different league, but I think he's up for the challenge. It would be a big surprise if he didn't get onto the score sheet in the first month or so, but What really helps in the case of Bojan is the fact that he's not only proved his goal-scoring abilities in Veikkausliiga, but also in Europe. 3 goals in the Conference League and another 3 before that in the qualifiers it proves his consistency even against like tougher opposition in Europe. And what also helps in the fact that he's somewhat familiar with the English game, having played for Brighton's youth teams before, and he knows what to expect, what's expected of him, and he knows that he needs to deliver. Yeah, the fact that Bojan's moved on is not really a surprise to anyone. He did his job here, he did it really well, and I think the majority of fans are really happy for him getting himself a move to a league this strong. What they're more concerned about is who is HJK going to decide to replace him, as it's not really easy to fill the gap that Bojan's left behind him. But hopefully the money that HJK received from this sale, which is obviously on HJK standards quite big, will help the club find a goal scorer of similar ability. Is there anything else we don't know about Bojan Radulović that we should? Well, overall, Bojan is a very nice, down-to-earth guy, and I think returning to England, especially in this age and on the back of his best season yet, it must be a dream come true for him. And I think the Huddersfield fans will love him, and that he'll go on to do some great things for the club.
And I'm back in the studio once again with Tom Bradshaw, because Tom, we've done another bloody signing. We've got a striker this time. Bojan Radulović. I'm probably going to get that wrong. Please correct me to any Serbian listeners we may have. Radulovic. I'm going to go with that. Tom, striker in the building. What do you think?
Big tick. Mainly because he's a striker, number one, and his current record is pretty good. So I think bringing in anyone who is on a bit of a streak can only be a good thing, especially halfway through a season. So hopefully it will continue. What is he? 24, Brady? So still quite young. He's been around the block quite a bit. I mean, had a few clubs so far, which I'm sure we'll touch on, but he has already been in this country with Brighton, which I think is a bit of a positive that Brighton picked him up so young. I know he didn't end up staying there, but they're not normally that far off the mark with players, are they? So, from what I've seen, the little clips I've seen, he's a finisher of the goals, Brady.
Finisher in Finland. I feel like we've got a chant there already. Yeah, no, I think it's a good signing. I mean, I'm going to be honest, and I know you're the same, Tom. We're not Finnish football experts. That's why we spoke to one earlier in this podcast. But I'm kind of encouraged. I think, yes, it's a bit of a gamble, but I think if you look at it, it's kind of maybe the right profile, the striker we need. I think in the past with Town, we tend to go for kind of experienced championship players, but maybe they're a bit 2-3 years too old to do a difference. Michael, etc. And I think this is good. Like you say, he's a young age. He's a fairly decent age, 24. He scored in the Europa Conference League, I should say. He is scoring goals, and I think you look at the options we've got. Obviously, Danny Ward. As much as we kind of stick up for him, he's just too injury prone, isn't he, to play a full 46 games. Obviously, Jordan Rhodes is out on loan at the time of recording. And then you look at the other option, Harriet Hudlin. It's asking a lot, I know. And at the moment, we've been playing, Thomas and Koroma. So I think it's an exciting one. Again, will it translate? Because the standard of the Finnish league, I think there's question marks about that. But I like this signing. I'm not going to say like he'll hit the ground running, but I think in terms of you look at it, someone in a league who's scoring a lot of goals, his height, as you kind of commented on, I'm quite pleased with this one, and it's someone we needed, wasn't it, Tom?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you touch on like the level that the Finnish league is, but the goals that he's scored that I've seen, like you put him in any league and he's scoring those goals, they're still a very good goal. Do you know what I mean? Some of the headers that he scores, by the looks of it, are absolutely brilliant. He just seems to know where the goal is. One thing we've missed is someone doing that, and the kind of players we've got out wide with Sorba playing the ball in, it could be really key to just someone finishing off those chances that we create. I know you've touched on saying you don't know much about the Finnish league, Brady, but I mean, what are his stats like? They're pretty decent, aren't they?
They are, yeah. So I'm reading this from Football League World, but the Finnish league, he's got 18 goals and 2 assists in 24 appearances in the league. They won Helsinki won the HJK Helsinki. They won the league. He's got, as I mentioned, he's actually got 5 goals in the Europa Conference League, and so he's got in 41 appearances 25 goals and 2 assists. I mean, you'd take that when given Mikael Hellick is our top goal scorer at this point. I mean, he has a year remaining on his contract. I think I know it seems silly, but I think what's good is we're actually going to pay a fee for him. I know that doesn't necessarily mean and Town have shown in the past they can make free transfers quite well, but it's just nice that clearly this is the type of player I think we should be looking at, someone who's scoring goals, someone that we're going to pay money for, who's obviously in a bit of demand. And yes, it might be a bit of a punt maybe, but again, you look at the recruitment team and all the data you can get with Wyscout nowadays, there's clearly something in there that makes them a risk. I mean, Tom, I suppose the question to ask you is, with this one, do you think this should be the only striker Town bring in, or given there's a lot of discussion there, isn't there, in that position? Would you add to him maybe?
I would. I'd get a younger version of Danny Ward, basically. I think. I don't know what kind of striker that is, but someone who maybe is just that little bit more versatile, who you could potentially pop out wide as well. Whereas this guy is just an out and out striker. Put him in the box, he should be scoring goals. So I think two would be ideal for me, Brady. I was just going to ask you about him. I mean, what do you think? So he comes in January. What's a successful kind of spell for him? How many goals would you say? Well, he was definitely worth getting in. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good question. If he doesn't get 50 goals, fraud. No, I think it's difficult, particularly with, obviously he talked about Brighton, but he didn't really get game time for them. It is adjusting to a new league. What I would hope is obviously Town. Ultimately, he scores a couple of goals. Town, stay up, and then we see more from him with a full season, and he's kind of got used to the rigors and the speed of the Championship. I wouldn't put an exact number on it, but I think it's kind of in a way, I almost want. It's a funny example, but for me, someone who we signed in January, and this is always the one I think we should have taken a punt on. Obviously, this is a permanent deal, so it's different and a completely different player. But I always feel with Chris Willock, we had him on loan in that January. He scored a few important goals. He looked all right, and I was I think there's enough to take a punt on him. I know we've got him on a permanent, but that's what I'd be looking at. You look at this Darren Moore team, and I know some people aren't particularly wild on Darren Moore. There's a lot of draws in there, and I think that's purely because we've not had a striker really. You're asking Thomas and Kurama to do those jobs, which they're not. That's not their position. And I just wonder, if he can turn some of those draws into wins. Let's say, I don't know, 2 or 3. I think he's more than justified coming in January this season. What about you? Same question to you.
I mean, if we had a striker who got a goal every 2 games, that'd be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it? That's pretty much what he's doing there. If he could continue that for half a season with us, probably wouldn't be a next season if he continued that in the Championship, to be fair. But yeah, I think 1 in 3. So I mean, if we've got about 20 odd games left, so let's say if he got 10 goals, that'd be very good. That'd keep us up. If we got someone in who's going to get us 10, add 10 more goals to our game, like you say, those 10 goals are going to turn some of those draws into wins.
Yeah. And Tom, as I asked you on the Alex Matos pod, if you haven't heard that, you can go back and listen to that. That's in your feed. We asked the listeners to rank this signing out of 10 in terms of excitement. Slightly different to our Alex Matos poll. So the majority going for a 7 to 9 out of 10, 47% so far, and the next one being 4 to 6 / getting my hopes up. So some of the listener comments, Jack Natras, he said only put 4 to 6 for Matos because that was one area we didn't actually fare too bad in, though more quality is definitely a plus. Striker was a massive priority, so this is 7 to 9 worthy. Captain Thunderbolt says, excited, good height, mobile, coming into the prime of his career, and clearly has worked hard despite setbacks. Candid Fantasy Football says he's not the quickest, but that doesn't matter. We've got lots of pace in the side. Just need him to be an out-and-out proper number 9, like the club said. Think his inclusion alone is going to make a noticeable difference in how the squad plays. It's a 7 bordering on an 8 for me. Sport Hudders Treble 2, he says not too excited as he's yet to prove himself in a decent league. Finnish league is on par with the Irish league and mainly semi-pro league. Hopefully it might come good though. That's why 4 out of 10. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the listener responses. But what I want to know is, Tom Bradshaw, what would you rank it out of 10 in terms of excitement?
I think I'm more excited for this than I am Matos, just given his age, and he's just had a bit more first team football. So I'm putting him in a number 7, Brady. 7.
Ooh, 7. Very, very nice. Yeah, I think, again, with all of these transfer things, time will tell. Oh, boo, make a hot take straight away. I'm kind of with you. You know, it's a position we needed. I think, you know, for all we do criticise Town's recruitment team in the past, like I think you've got to say there's a lot of things to like about this. Whether it makes that transition, like we said, that's the biggest question. And in January, you know, with that put pre-season behind him. But I'm with you. I'm going to go 7. I think there's plenty to get excitement about this. And I know people mock the Conference League, but I think even if you're getting 5 goals in 7 games, you know, depending on the opposition, it can really vary. But you know, I can see something here. I think there's something you could work with there. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the 7 too.
So just before we go, we got some extra bonus insight for you. Markus Kitunen, who's a HJK fan, he spoke to us about Bojan Radulovic and was telling us a little bit about what Town can expect from their new number 9. Hi Marcus, thanks so much for joining us. So what type of player are Huddersfield Town getting in Bojan Radulovic, and what do you make of the move?
On the surface, I think Bojan is a mix between a target player and a pure finisher inside the box. But in truth, I think he's more of a versatile centre forward who likes to be involved in all parts of the attacking phase of the game. I have, even jokingly at times, called him the best defensive forward in Europe. So this means he's definitely no stranger to working hard for the team, which is always one of the best qualities to have in any player. In terms of the move, I think it's a good move both ways. Huddersfield get a relatively young but still experienced big centre forward who has yet to find his ceiling as a player. And since I don't expect the money was an issue here, there's a huge upside for both parties.
That's really interesting. So how would you describe his playing style then to people who might not be aware?
Bojan's a target forward who is more about movement than power. He has a tremendous knack of sort of gliding inside the box to find pockets of space to score. And he does this with a great sense of timing and ability to finish in different ways. In the attacking phase, he's able to comfort the ball. He's able to create time and space for other players. In the final third, he's maybe not a creator as such, but despite his relative lack of pace, he can create scoring opportunities for himself. In general, he works very hard, covers a lot of ground on the pitch, and is a very good team player.
team players. That sounds very good to the fans, I'm sure. So what would you say his strengths and weaknesses are?
His biggest strength is that he was able to develop tremendously from year 1 to year 2 during his time with Hoiko, and I'm confident there's still a lot left in the tank. In terms of his development, he was an exceptional finisher last season compared to the season before, when I think he missed too many chances. But he's also developed his overall playing to become a more versatile and better forward. And one thing that's always set him apart at Hoiko was his ability to get into scoring chances, especially to the end of crosses. His biggest weakness is definitely his lack of explosive speed, which means that he can't really take on players one-on-one. But I think last season there maybe seemed to be he maybe seemed to have a tick more dynamic step to him. So maybe there's also hope in the one-on-one situations.
Some fans will have questions about the quality of the Finnish league. Where would you say it ranks in comparison to the Championship?
Obviously, Veikkausliiga is nowhere near as competitive as the Championship, but I think it's very difficult to compare the two leagues. But considering that Hoiko has made it into the European competitions now 3 times in a row, I think Hoiko should be able and definitely would be able to compete in the Championship. In general, the Finnish league and the style of play is very tactical and quite defensive in approach, especially when you play for Hoiko. That's dominated the league for years now. So this means many teams defend very deep against them. But still, Veikkausliiga is not a picnic to play in. But I think the biggest point of adjusting for Bojan will come in the pace of the game that is played in the Championship.
And you touched on the league there. Obviously, he won the league with HJK. He scored 18 times in the league, 25 in all competitions, I believe. Do you think he could carry on that kind of goal-scoring rate in England, or, a goal-scoring rate of a similar level?
I think Bojan can score goals in England if he gets a fair share of playing time. His nose for the goal is something that should transfer well, even though that the quality of the opposition gets stronger. And something that is definitely on his side is that I think that he can still develop all aspects of his game, which he needs to do. And one promising thing also is that he scored consistently throughout the last Finnish league season, and especially scored 3 very good goals in the Conference League. And then, as a sort of a bonus, if you let him take penalties, he'll score with a great percentage.
Well, you've got me feeling very excited about this. I mean, obviously, we've seen strikers from HJK who've gone on to play well in the British game. Norwich's Teemu Pukki springs to mind, Alfredo Morelos. I know they didn't necessarily join straight from HJK, but how does Radulovic compare to those 2 strikers?
Pukki and Morelos are special cases coming out of Veikkausliiga. We don't get that kind of talents too often. I think both possess the same type of dynamic drive towards goal and a natural ability to score and play the game. While maybe Radulovic is more of a project, if you will. He was still a bit raw as a player when he arrived at Hoiko, despite having played at a big club, AIK, in Stockholm, Sweden. But he always showed willingness to work hard and develop, and now arrives at Huddersfield as a hugely better player. So yeah, I definitely think that he has all the abilities to succeed in England.
And what would you say the reaction from the HJK fan base has been like to this move?
He will be missed, both as a player of great quality, but also due to his sort of down-to-earth personality. But Bojan's transfer was always coming. Everyone knew that, as they do for the best players in Finland. And I think that it's great that the transfer came now and not a year ago. So now after Bojan had an excellent season for Hoiko. And in general, Finnish football and even Hoiko are at a disadvantage to most other leagues in Europe, as many players are on short contracts and tend to leave on free transfers. So I think that as long as Hoiko got a big enough transfer fee, let's say north of 1 million euros, there should be no complaints.
Sounds like he's well liked and pretty amicable then. Finally, before we let you go, is there anything about Bojan Radulovic that we don't know that we should?
In Bojan, you're getting a very good player who can become even better. A great finisher who can finish with his both legs, heading. He seems to be a very nice guy, a good team player with a nice personality. And I really hope that he will, and I'm confident that he will do well at Huddersfield and score a lot of goals for you if you let him, and boost Huddersfield's chances of climbing up the table, and obviously chances for Bojan to go on and achieve even greater things.
Well, Marcus, thank you so much for your time and giving us a bit of insight into Town's new number 9. Hopefully we cross paths again sometime in the future.
Nice one.
Lovely.
Well done.
And that'll do it for this mini pod. Nice one. Excellent. That'll do it for this mini pod. Hope you liked it. And let's hope we have a couple more lined up throughout the January transfer window. So we're going to leave it there. It's ta for now. And up the town.
So town player, bring the car back to Huddersfield.